Whoa! Like a roller coaster chair.
Your
place for me to do it. Down. Monday. Been reading the paper. Yeah. It's not a good. Yeah.
You know,
Hello. Welcome to the Planning Commission meeting of September 28th, 2023. My name is Vern Crow, and I am the chairperson of the commission. The Planning Commission is a citizens' body appointed by the City Council. The commission is empowered to make final decisions on certain matters, with those being appealable to the City Council. On other matters, the commission acts in an advisory role to the council, with the council making the final decision. You will have an opportunity to address the commission during the public hearing portion of the meeting. Your testimony is appreciated and encouraged. The commission acts from a written agenda. You will need to fill out a yellow speaker card and give it to city staff if you wish to speak on an item. Copies of the agenda and the speaker cards are located on the table just outside the main door to this chamber. At this time, please be sure to silence your cell phones. Thank you. There are 7 members appointed to the Planning Commission. At this time, I will ask the commissioners to introduce themselves and state the district they are representing, starting from my far right.
Tom Cole, Barrel District.
Edwin Nyberg, Choya District.
Martin Novakowski, Yucca District.
John Gears, Ocotillo District.
Ryan Hooper, Saguaro District.
Vern Crow, Cactus. Let the record show that all the members are present, with the exception of Commissioner Crow, who has an excused absence this evening. The Planning Commission receives staff assistance and guidance from the Planning Division and the City Attorney's Office. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak on an item not on tonight's agenda? I do have a speaker card that addresses that issue for Mr. Sherwood. Welcome.
Good evening, Board, or Commission, I should say. Yeah, this has to do with the modern stay that you folks had a discussion, I think, initially on August 24th, and then it was went on to the meeting in September 14th. I was out of town for both of those. I was a little dismayed at how this process worked this time. There was a virtual meeting back in April, and I believe there was one person that had concerns. I wouldn't say really spoke out against it, but there really wasn't a lot of, I think there was 4 of us on the phone. And I have nothing. I have no, it's my district. I used to sit on this board. I used to chair this board. I love the Planning Commission and zoning. Don't really pay a lot of attention to it, but I thought this was a project that was needed for the city and certainly for that area. So when I go back to and again, I didn't look at the video. I only looked at the minutes, and it seemed like you had a lot of activity in the August one, 72 speaker cards, of which 21 were against it. There were some concerns, two concerns, traffic and crime. One of the commissioners here had contacted Glendale and Peoria PD on the crime and didn't come up with anything. And of course, staff had presented that traffic wasn't going to be a concern. But you kick the can down the road to the next meeting. I think, again, out of those 72, you had 21 that was against it, 1 neutral. For the next meeting, there were 17 speaker cards, of which 10 were against. It was reported that, again, crime and traffic was negligible. But then all of a sudden, we can't get a second to that motion to go forward with it. And we listed traffic, parking, hotel safety, building height, crime, noise, lighting, architect. If you've been up in that area, I mean, it's ripe for something like that. And again, I think you just, when you have that many people that are against it, I think it caved. And again, I don't understand. We used to get the packets in plenty of time, and if you have questions on traffic or crime like that, you kind of get those answered ahead of time. So, I mean, just to even extend it another meeting, I didn't understand that. But again, it's easier to do that, especially when you have a lot of people in the audience. And I know that meeting went late. I think you didn't get out of here till close to midnight. So again, just expressing my concern. I know the applicant is appealing the decision, and I hope that it goes forward. I mean, it's something that we need, and I didn't see any problem whatsoever with that type of extended stay coming in. So thanks for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Sherwood. Now on to the approval of minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we continue with the minutes from September 14th to the next regular meeting.
Okay, there's been a motion to forward the meeting minutes until the next meeting for approval. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to push the approval of the meeting minutes to the following meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Chairperson Crowe,
Ms. Perry.
Chairperson Crowe, Commissioners, just clarification, are we only doing a continuance on the minutes from September the 14th? Or is it both August the 24th and September the 14th that you're making the motion for a continuance?
Well, unless he separates it, I took it as being both.
Okay. I
Is that your
apologize. I
motion?
didn't hear.
Yep, Mr. Chairman, I'm perfectly fine with that. Yeah, I originally thought it had to be a motion on each item, but I'm perfectly comfortable if they're combined.
It's both.
Thank you.
Ms. Perry, are there any withdrawals or continuances this evening?
Chairperson Crowe, Commissioners, there are none.
Okay, the purpose of this public hearing is to provide interested parties an opportunity to present testimony for the Commissioner's consideration. We will follow the same procedures for each item. I will call the application number and the name of the applicant. Staff will present their report and answer questions from the Commission. The applicant will be given the opportunity to make a presentation and answer questions from the Commission. Other persons who wish to testify will be asked to do so and answer questions from the Commission. The applicant will have an opportunity for closing comments. Staff will be asked for any final comments on the application and procedural guidance. I will then close the public hearing and ask for a motion prior to further discussion within the Commission. If you wish to speak on an item, you will need to state your name and address for the record. Please be brief and to the point and avoid repetition. I reserve the right to limit the length of your testimony. All exhibits shown to the Commission before become part of the permanent record and must be submitted for the file. Large groups should designate a spokesperson. Applause or other disruptions which delay the hearing will not be tolerated. This evening, we have 4 public hearing items. Our first agenda item is case number CUP 23-18, and Ms. Lavelle will present the case.
Good evening, Chairperson Crow and Commissioners. Tonight I'll be presenting the Ultra Clean Express conditional use permit, CUP 23-18. So this request is for conditional use approval to allow for a 4,660 square foot car wash with associated car vacuums in the C2 zoning district. So here's a vicinity map showing the property in relation to City Hall. This property is located at the northeast corner of 83rd Avenue and Glendale Avenue, and it is approximately 3 miles from City Hall. This zoning map depicts the property in question and the zoning of adjacent properties. As you can see, this is on a commercial corner. Across the street from this property, it's zoned planned area development. To the west of 83rd Avenue is zoned shopping center, and then to the northwest of 83rd and Glendale, it is zoned commercial, general commercial, and then to the direct north of the subject property and to the east of the property, it's zoned R17, which is single family residential. So here's an aerial map that gives you kind of a context of what's going on in the neighborhood. So as you can see, this property is, it is currently vacant, but it has 2 structures on it. This was the site of a gas station and fuel center, which has been abandoned, and the fuel tanks have actually been decommissioned through the county. This site is currently unimproved, as you can see. There exists on site to the north a billboard, and to the southeast corner another billboard, and the landscaping that was previously there is no longer. It is all removed, and the site is unimproved. As you can see to the south across Glendale Avenue, that vacant parcel is actually a planned area development known as G83. This property is currently in just in various stages of development of, it's got a convenience store and a fuel center. They have a multi-family residential to the southwest of it, and then also a number of convenience uses on site, which include drive-through restaurants. And then again, across the street from that, on the corner of 83rd Avenue and Glendale to the south, that is a commercial business area. And then to the north, it's a commercial business area. Okay, so some of the project details. This, the applicant is proposing a building. It's approximately 4,660 square feet in size. They are offering up 30 vacuum spaces, which will be used for the vacuum stalls for the car wash, but also for required parking. They are going to be putting in perimeter walls along the property line where it is adjacent to single-family residential, and I will go into a little bit greater detail about some of that. They also will be improving the site by providing landscaping as far as like they will be meeting the zoning ordinance for landscaping, but they also will be providing additional landscaping along that residential use to the north. And they are proposing hours of operation from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m., and this is 7 days a week. So it's kind of difficult to see, but here is a conceptual site plan that the applicant has proposed. As you can see, the site is going to have 2 points of access, one off of Glendale Avenue and one off of 83rd Avenue. As part of their approval, they are going to be improving the site with curb, gutter, and sidewalk, and they also will be required to put in a deceleration lane going up to Glendale Avenue to the intersection at 83rd Avenue. The easiest way to access the car wash building is from the access point at Glendale Avenue, but you can access it from both sides, either 83rd or Glendale. And that provides this enormous amount of stacking of vehicles, which circulates through the building and out the site. And then the vacuum stalls are actually pushed forward in the site towards Glendale Avenue and more towards the retention basin for the single-family residential subdivision to the east. So the applicant has met all public notification requirements. They did have a neighborhood meeting. No one attended the meeting other than staff and the applicant. Someone did call after this was published, just had some general questions on the project. And then there was a meeting that the applicant had with the council member for this district to just discuss some options for mitigating some of the potential impacts to the residential home to the north. So staff finds this project is consistent with the general plan designation of planned commercial and the zoning classification of general commercial. This site has been utilized for commercial uses for over 30 years. And this site is primed for a new commercial use. And this is consistent with what the general plan designation and with the zoning classification. It's not anticipated that there will be detrimental health, safety, or general welfare effects. The application has been adequately stipulated to mitigate any potential impacts with a deceleration lane that addresses the traffic impacts along Glendale Avenue, with a increase of a screen wall to the residential home to the north and additional landscaping. And they've also reduced the height of the building tower to the north to also help with visual impacts. Staff recommends that Planning Commission approves the project CUP 23-18, subject to the following stipulations. Number 1, development shall be in substantial conformance with the site plan, date stamped August 18th, 2023, and the project narrative dated May 23, 2023, subject to the design review approval by the Development Services Department. Number 2, a deceleration lane will be installed along Glendale Avenue to the intersection at 83rd Avenue prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy. Number 3, the perimeter wall along the north property line shall be built to a minimum of 10 feet in height from the existing grade. Number 4, the height of the building facing the northern property line shall not exceed 25 feet in height from existing grade. Number 5, the trees along the northern property line shall be increased in quantity from a minimum of 4 to 6, and at full growth shall exceed 10 feet foot wall height. That concludes my presentation. I will be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Commissioners? Commissioner Cole?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Ms. Lavelle. If it's in here, I apologize. I couldn't find it. The median on Glendale, there's no planned changes to that. It's going to be right in only westbound.
Right. There is no plans to change the median.
That's what I thought. Thank you for clarifying.
Thank you, Ms. Lavelle.
Thank you.
Okay, would the applicant or applicant's representative please come forward, state your name for the record, and make your presentation with anything additional you'd like to add.
Commissioners, my name is Steve Shaw. I'm with Arme Davis Newlove, or ADN Architects. And Christina, as usual, has done a great job presenting. We're certainly here, and I have a representative from the car wash for any technical questions on the operation. But it's been presented pretty well. Just here if you have any questions.
Thank you, sir. Commissioners? Thank you.
Okay. Did you have one? Yes.
No, did I miss you?
Yeah.
Sorry, Commissioner Hooper.
So I was looking at the acoustics. With the way you guys enter or plan to develop it to enter and exit, it gets pretty loud, right? Because you've got, what, 7, 8 dryers at the end?
Yeah.
Obviously, the vast majority of that sound is going to go out toward Glendale. And I know we're trying to mitigate the sound toward the family that's just north of you guys. I mean, it's from what the acoustic graph read, it was still going to be in that 65 decibel plus range. I mean, aside from landscaping and a wall, what else can be done to help these people? Because sitting on one back patio, I don't want to listen to that.
Yeah, the acoustical analysis study showed not much of a net gain in decibels versus the street. The mitigation that's been done on the wall is a help. The equipment's a lot different than it was 10 years ago. It's the dryers, actually most of the noise comes from the dryers at the exit, which is even a little further away. The equipment's been changed to minimize that noise. So we did do the acoustic study, and the results in there, and Christina can probably verify it, did not show much of an increase over just the street traffic itself.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioners? Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. And I'd like to say quickly too, Christina is terrific. You're very lucky to have her working here. She's was a breath of fresh air to work with.
We know.
Yeah, greatly appreciate it.
I've received no speaker cards. Commissioners, any further questions?
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Nowakowski?
I just want to say this corner came up about maybe a year and a half ago, I believe for another purpose. So it is a blight. It is in the Yucca district, which I'm pointed to. And I just want to say thank you for going in there and building. And I just hope the best for your project. All right.
Staff, any procedural guidance?
Chairperson Crowe, Commissioner, there are none.
Okay, the public hearing for case number CUP 23-18 is now closed. Do I hear a motion?
Chairman, I move to approve CPU 2318 per the findings and subject to the stipulations contained in the staff report.
Thank you, Commissioner Gears.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Hooper. We have a motion and a second to recommend approval for case number CUP 23-18, subject to the stipulations as outlined by staff. I will now conduct a roll call vote. Commissioner Cole.
Aye.
Vice Chair Nyberg.
Aye.
Commissioner Nowakowski.
Aye.
Commissioner Gears.
Aye.
Commissioner Hooper.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Case number CUP 2318 has been recommended for approval, subject to stipulations as outlined by the staff. Mr. Gruber, what are the next steps in the process?
Chair and members of the Commission, your action with respect to case number CUP 23-18 is final, subject to a written appeal received within 15 days.
Thank you, Mr. Gruber. Our next agenda item is case number CUP 23-19. Again, Ms. Lavelle will present the case.
So this project is for the Superstar Car Wash Conditional Use Permit, CUP 23-19. So the applicant is requesting conditional use approval to allow a 4,620 square foot car wash with associated vacuums in the C2 zoning district. So this is a vicinity map showing the property in relation to City Hall. This property is located south of the southwest corner of Olive Avenue and 51st Avenue, and it's approximately 2 miles from City Hall. So here's a zoning map that just kind of gives you a context of what is going on in the vicinity. As you can see from Barbara Avenue all the way up to Olive Avenue, on the west side of 51st Avenue, it is zoned C2, which is general commercial, and that actually carries over from Olive Avenue all the way to 53rd Avenue, and that whole area there is commercial properties. Across the street from the subject property, across 51st Avenue, it is residential condos that are multifamily. So here's a context map that just kind of gives you an idea of what's going on in the vicinity. As you can see, this property is located kind of mid-block. It is it's vacant. It's currently vacant and unimproved. They do have some existing landscaping. To the south of the property is a neighborhood Walmart center. To the north of the property is a CVS. And as you can see, the property gains access, or can gain access, from 2 points of full access. One that is shared with the Walmart, neighborhood Walmart center. That's to the south of the property, and to the north of the property with the CVS. The applicant is proposing a car wash to be located along 51st Avenue, and it will it'll run north and south with the entrance point to the south, just at the south of the property, and then it will exit to the north. On the other side of the building, interior to the site, they will locate their parking and their vacuum cleaner stalls. Okay, so some of the project details. Again, this project, it is a car wash with 27 associated vacuum spaces. This is wholly surrounded by commercial properties and is in a commercial zone. They do have 2 points of access that actually are existing and fully built out. And they are asking for the hours of operation from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., 7 days a week. So the applicant has met all their public notification requirements, and they did hold a neighborhood meeting. No one attended that meeting other than staff and the applicant, and neither staff nor the applicant received any comments, calls, or emails in regards to this project. So staff finds that this project is consistent with the general plan designation of planned commercial and the zoning classification of general commercial. I'm sorry. Excuse me. So this site is located in the middle of a fully developed commercial center, and this particular use meets the objectives of the general commercial zone and the planned commercial zone, in that it provides for a cohesive development that will act as kind of a master development. So this will fit right in with what's going on, and they won't have to create new access points, and it'll just fit right in with that commercial center. It's also been found that it's adequate in size and shape to not only accommodate the use itself as a car wash, but it also has adequate circulation, adequate parking, and buffering with landscape. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission approve the project proposal CUP 23-19, subject to the following stipulation. Development shall be in substantial conformance with the site plan dated August 24th, 2023, and the project narrative dated July 12th, 2023, subject to design review approval by the Planning Department. That concludes my presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Commissioners?
Mr. Chairman.
Hang on a minute. Commissioner Hooper?
Does the city take into account how many car washes are within the vicinity before moving forward with planning something like this? And that's also in respect to the last one as well.
Well, each project is reviewed and evaluated on its own merits.
Mhm.
And so the planning commission decides whether or not they can go forward with a conditional use permit. All car washes are required to go through the conditional use permit process and go before the planning commission.
Okay, I was just curious if there's
Yeah.
any type of research into that, because there are 6 car washes within just a few miles of the proposed location with this one. The other one, there's 3, but it was kind of right in the middle. I guess we like to wash our cars in Phoenix.
Yeah, typically that's market driven, but I can, the applicant, they can answer that question for you if you would like. But typically that's market driven based on what they determine is the highest and best use of the property.
No, it's fine. It was just for my own personal knowledge.
Commissioner Cole? No? Vice Chair Nyberg?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just had a couple of questions about the documents included in our packet. The 300 foot of the owner's list in the packet, and then the interested parties. The information in those documents is it's
Blacked out.
confusing, the status of those documents. Can you tell me why that's blacked out?
Yeah, I apologize for that. That was an oversight. We can get those documents for you, the full list. Typically, you get the correct list. This is what would have been put upon the agenda online, because we don't give out that information to the public. However, I think it was an oversight on our part.
Thank you.
Is there something, I mean, can we?
I just wondered why it was, the information is obstructed. You can't read the information that normally is in the packet.
Yeah, I believe it was an oversight, because typically we redact those addresses for the online version.
Thank you.
Commissioners? Thank you, Ms. LaBelle.
Thank you.
Would the applicant or applicant's representative please come forward, state your name for the record, and make your presentation with anything additional?
Hi, good evening, Chair, members of the council. My name is Madison Leak, for your records, 1850 North Central, and here on behalf of Superstar. I had a presentation, but Christina did such a fabulous job that I am just here to answer any questions. I just want to say that we appreciate all of Christina's help, staff's recommendation for approval, and just the time that they've spent on this project. Happy to answer any questions.
Commissioners? Commissioner Cole?
Thank you, Ms. Leak. Looking at the noise contour, it does appear that the highest level, the 65 dB plus, bleeds over across 51st Avenue into New World. And it appears also to me, unlike the previous project, there's not a lot of opportunity for sound mitigation across the street from the project. Are there any steps that can be taken to kind of help that across the street? And I know it's not part of your presentation or part of your application, but I did notice in the previous application that there are inlet sound reducers available for the dryers, that the blowers, that reduce the sound by 7 decibels at 50 feet. Would the applicant be open to looking at something like that to perhaps help mitigate the sound across the street for New World?
Commissioner, through the chair, a couple things on sound. Superstar uses, I'm sorry, I feel like this mic's a little funny. Superstar uses all of the best in class, newest, best, fanciest noise reduction technology. Another thing that we've done here to purposely reduce any noise impacts is orienting that tunnel facing towards along 51st Avenue north-south as opposed to facing any residential. All noise producing equipment is also always located inside of buildings as opposed to outside. And the reason why I pulled up this slide really quick for your attention is to talk about what the previous applicant talked about, which is ambient conditions, because 51st is quite loud. So as you can see here, the change in decibel, the change in ambient conditions is classified as not perceptible or just perceptible, even though there is a fair amount of noise along the street. And this is also calculated at a worst case scenario. When they do these studies, it's every single vacuum on and the blowers on, which doesn't actually happen.
So that rating of 3 is the difference between the ambient along 51st Avenue, or is that?
If
Just-
you, yes, if you look at receptor point 1, I'm really testing my contacts here. The change in noise level is a difference of 3, which is classified as just perceptible. As I've had the pleasure of working with Superstar, I've learned a lot about noise and about how our ears can't actually tell a difference in a difference of between about 1 and 3 decibels. That's why they calculate it compared to ambient conditions and look at the change in decibel and not just the decibel. Is that helpful?
That helps, thank you.
Yeah.
Commissioners? Thank you, Madison.
Thank you.
Commissioners, anything additional? Okay, I don't have any speaker cards, but are there any members of the audience that would like to speak on this item? Okay, having none and doing none, we'll move on. Staff, any procedural guidance?
Chairperson Crowe, Commissioners, there's none.
Thank you, Ms. Perry. The public hearing for case number CUP 23-19 is now closed. Do I hear a motion for CUP 23-19?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Cole,
I move to approve CUP 23-19 per the findings and subject to the stipulation contained in the staff report.
Support.
any further comments from the commissioners regarding case CUP 2319? Hearing none, we have a motion and a second to recommend approval of case number CUP 23-19, subject to the stipulations as outlined by the staff. I will now conduct a roll call vote. Commissioner Cole,
Aye.
Vice Chair Nyberg,
Aye.
Commissioner Nowakowski,
Aye.
Commissioner Gears,
Aye.
Commissioner Hooper.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. CUP 23-19 has been recommended for approval, subject to the stipulations as outlined by staff. Mr. Gruber, what are the next steps in the process?
Chair, members of the commission, your action with respect to case number CUP 23-19 is final, subject to a written appeal received within 15 days.
Thank you, Mr. Gruber. Our next agenda item is case number GP 2304 and ZON 23-06. And again, Ms. Lavelle.
Okay, so this presentation is for the general plan amendment and the rezone application for the Glen Lakes remnant parcel. The application numbers are GPA 23-04 and ZON 23-06. So there are two requests before you tonight. One is for a minor general plan amendment from public open space to plan commercial, and there is a companion rezoning from agricultural to planned area development. I apologize. Okay, so here's a vicinity map that just shows the property in relation to City Hall. It's at the northeast corner of 55th Avenue and Northern Avenue, and it's about a mile away from City Hall. The current general plan is public open space, and the current zoning is agricultural. And as you can see, this is not consistent with what is going on around it. So here's an aerial map that just gives you kind of a context view of what's going on site. This parcel is actually the remnant parcel from the Glen Lakes Golf Course. It currently has a building on site. And to the north of this property, if you can see this may look familiar to you. This is the Trevino subdivision that was approved. And it was the site of the Glen Lakes Golf Course. Across the street to the west is single-family residential. And then if you just look to the east of the property, it is a mix of office and commercial uses. For example, there's a dental office and there's also salon suites along that side of the road. Then across the street from, directly across the street from the parcel is a bank. And then kitty corner to that, at the corner of Northern and 55th on the southwest side is a Walmart Supercenter and a number of commercial operations. Okay, so this, the project is for a planned area development that is site-specific to this particular site. The planned area development allows for neighborhood commercial, general commercial, and a limited multifamily residential. And what I mean by that is that as part of this project, you could do a mixed-use project where you would have live-work units on the top floor and then commercial operations on the ground floor, say like a coffee shop or a restaurant or whatnot. The multifamily residential component is limited to live-work only. It is not meant to be a standalone multifamily project, but as part of an overall mixed-use project. This PAD has specific development standards and specific uses that are specific to this site and this area. So when you look through the use table, you recognize that there are specific uses. These were handpicked for more of a transitional project between that single-family residential to the more intensive commercial projects in the vicinity. So some of the permitted uses would be like a financial institution or personal services like a hair salon or maybe assisted living or even a doctor's office. The PAD also puts into play some performance standards for certain uses. So for example, if you want to do a drive-through on that corner, you may be able to if you can meet the performance standards. These performance standards were created as to give, make sure that anything that goes on site is compatible with not only the commercial aspect of what's going on in that corridor, but also the single-family residential. So it acts as more of a transitional. And also there are some uses that could happen that would be subject to conditional use, and that would go before the Planning Commission. And that would be something like an outdoor recreational facility, like soccer or something like that, or even a minor auto repair. It's not saying that it couldn't go in, it could go in, but it would need to go through the process of the CUP. So, and then finally, the PAD has specifically targeted some uses that are just not appropriate for this site. And those would be things like an adult-oriented business, pawn shop, thrift store, plasma donation center, and even a check to cash. Those kind of uses have been kind of targeted by the neighbors as something that they really just wouldn't like to see happen on site. So the applicant has met all the public notification requirements. They did have a neighborhood meeting on August 21st. There were 7 attendees at the meeting. They did have a discussion on those uses we just described, about what they would like to, the neighbors spoke about what they would like to see on site, what they wouldn't like to see on site, and staff, the applicant responded accordingly. So staff finds that this project proposal is consistent. The general plan designation of planned commercial fits with this particular site. This allows for the site to be built out in either a mixed use or a commercial fashion, and it also gives some flexibility in design as well. It also that it furthers the public health and safety, because this particular general plan designation of planned commercial is not the most intensive. So it does help to provide kind of a backbone for that buffer between the single-family residential and the commercial uses. And it also is consistent where it is compatible with the other land uses that are in the vicinity. So staff finds that the planned area development meets the purposes and objectives of a planned area development. This planned area development is site-specific, and it is use-specific and development standard-specific. And it is very creative because it utilizes this process to be able to guide this development in such a way that it will fit seamlessly in the neighborhood and will be able to have, how do I say, it will help to mitigate some of those impacts of maybe more intensive commercial uses that you would get maybe with a straight zoning of C2 or a straight zoning of C3. What it does is it gives that flexibility in those uses and design. It also allows for this residential mix that we're talking about this live-work unit. This is kind of a unique concept to the city of Glendale, but it's kind of, as we know, we have a housing problem, and so it kind of gives an opportunity for people to be able to live and work in the same area. And it also, again, it gives that ability to have a variety, right? With a planned area development, you get the ability to have a restaurant and have a hair salon and have the live work units and things like that. So staff recommends approval of GPA 23-04 as written. And staff moves to recommend approval of ZON 23-06, subject to the following stipulation. Development shall be in substantial conformance with the Glen Lakes PAD narrative. Final date stamped September 1st, 2023. And that concludes my presentation, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Commissioners? Thank you, Ms. Lavelle.
Thank you.
Now, Commissioners, the applicant and the owner in this particular case is the City Council of the City of Glendale. So there will be no applicant or applicant's representative coming forward, since the applicant and the representative just made their presentation. Okay, I do not have any speaker cards, but are there any members of the audience that would like to speak on this item? Okay, hearing none, the public hearing for case number GPA 23-04 and ZON 23-06 is now closed. We will vote on each application separately. Do I hear a motion for case number GPA 2304?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Cole,
I move approval of GPA 23-04 as written.
do I have a second?
Second.
Are there any further comments from the commission based on GPA 23-04? Okay, hearing none, we have a motion and a second to recommend approval of case number GPA 23-04 as written. I will now conduct a roll call vote. Commissioner Hooper,
Aye.
Commissioner Gears,
Aye.
Commissioner Nowakowski,
Aye.
Vice Chair Nyberg,
Aye.
Commissioner Cole.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Case number GPA 23-04 has been recommended for approval as written. Mr. Gruber, what are the next steps in the process?
Chair, members of the commission, your action with respect to case number GPA 23-04 is not final. Your recommendation will be forwarded to the city council.
Thank you, Mr. Gruber. Do I hear a motion for case number ZON 23-06?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Cole?
I move approval of ZON 23-06 per the stipulations in the staff report.
Do I have a second? Second. Any further comments from the commissioners regarding case number ZON 23-06?
Mr. Chair, I just appreciate the other commissioners allowing me to voice the motions on development in the Barrel District.
Thank you, Commissioner Cole. Any further comments? Okay, we have a motion and a second to recommend approval of case number ZON 23-06, subject to the stipulations as outlined by staff. I will now conduct a roll call vote. Commissioner Cole?
Aye.
Vice Chair Nyberg?
Aye.
Commissioner Nowakowski?
Aye.
Commissioner Gears?
Aye.
Commissioner Hooper?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Case number ZON 23-06 has been recommended for approval subject to stipulations as outlined by staff. Mr. Gruber, what are the next steps?
Chair and members of the commission, like the companion general plan amendment, your action with respect to ZON 23-06 is not final, and your recommendation will be forwarded to the City Council for further consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Gruber. Our next agenda item is case number ZTA 23-01. And again, Ms. Lavelle.
So my final presentation tonight will be for ZTA 23-01 for the Glendale Center Line text amendment. So this request is to amend the Glendale zoning ordinance, section 6.806, parking for the Glendale Centerline Overlay District. So the objective of this zoning text amendment is to amend the parking requirements by use and to provide flexibility in parking standards for multifamily residential uses in the Glendale Centerline Overlay District, most specifically to senior and affordable housing. So here is the context map. This is the Glendale Centerline Overlay map. Now, there are 4 different character districts. There is the Market District, the Historic Downtown, the Beach Sugar, and the Midtown District. And each one of these districts allows for property owners that reside in this particular area to opt into the Glendale Centerline Overlay District, which is the GCO. Now, the GCO is created to create flexibility in development standards and in uses for this urban core of the city, this downtown urban core. So the main objective of this text amendment is to address the parking issues that are in the Glendale Centerline Overlay District. While the Glendale Centerline Overlay District allows for flexibility in floor area ratio, heights, and building setbacks and things like that, it only addresses the Beach Sugar District and the Historic Midtown District for commercial properties when it comes to parking. Off-street parking is not required in the Beach Sugar and the Historical Downtown District for commercial properties. However, it doesn't speak to multifamily. And so so as such, the city has to utilize Chapter 7 for parking for the multifamily components. Now, this can be problematic for these infill sites, especially for affordable housing. So the current standard says this. It says, section 6.806 says, due to the pedestrian nature of the Glendale Centerline District, there are no off-street parking requirements in the Beach Sugar and historic downtown character district areas for businesses located within the zoning district when development is in conformance with the Glendale Centerline overlay district rather than the underlying zoning district. It also says all parking spaces shall be striped with a 10-foot by 20-foot dimension. Handicap parking spaces shall meet All Americans with Disabilities Act standards as may be amended. So to address the lack of affordable housing and senior housing and infill housing parking requirements, this has been proposed. Deviations from parking requirements can be considered on a case-by-case analysis as part of the design review application process as noted below in any character area. Housing developments that seek to request lower parking minimums will be reviewed for approval on the following basis. 100% affordable housing within 1/2 mile of a transit stop with a frequent transit service will be 0.5 parking spaces per unit. 100% affordable housing for seniors within a 1/2 mile of a transit stop with local transit service or with access to paratransit service offered by the city as a part of a program will be 0.5 parking spaces per unit, or a parking justification study or analysis as described in the Unified Development Code section 35.4.005 and to include the following. A comparative study between the requirements for traditional multi housing residential transit options within the vicinity of the subject property and accessibility to general services retail from the subject property. So the applicant has met all notification requirements, and we have not received any comments or via email or via phone. Staff has reviewed and analyzed this text amendment and has found the following. So the Envision 2040 regards infill development and housing options that meet a range of socioeconomic needs as a top priority in the city of Glendale. In addition, the GCO supports this vision by providing flexible development standards, whereas that could be building heights, it could be building setbacks, that could also be just varying different things like floor area ratios. So the proposed text amendment supports really the purpose of the GCO because it provides a flexibility in the standards for affordable and senior housing based on the projected demand by the people that actually live there, as opposed to this static standard, you have to provide 1 parking space per 1 bedroom and then 2 for their forward. So it actually responds to the needs of a vulnerable group of people that may or may not need this amount of parking. Staff recommends Planning Commission to recommend the approval of ZTA 23-01 as presented. That concludes my presentation. I will be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Commissioners, anything for Ms. Lavelle? Commissioner Gears?
I have a question on the overlay map, the colored version, Market District, Historic District. Some of the areas is still in gray. Does that mean that portion does not have the overlay on it? Like right above the Ocotillo Road sign, there's all those houses are.
Yeah, that is correct.
Okay.
Those aren't part of the overlay
Okay,
district.
so that's okay.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Commissioner Nowakowski?
In regards to case-by-case analysis for the design review application process, does the developer provide a parking justification study or analysis as described in the UDC code? Who does that? Is that automatic if they want to reduce the parking? I'm just curious.
So if they opt to do the parking justification study, then they do produce a study. In fact, we have one in right now. It's kind of our test study. And then the transportation department and the planning department, we work through that and evaluate that based on a number of different factors. Again, that, you know, the availability to services, the availability to transit, whether or not it's within a walkable area that you can get groceries or whatnot. So there's a number of things that factor in, and then we also evaluate it based on the studies that they provide, because they provide studies for that, and then we evaluate that against the transportation requirements, the engineering requirements.
So they are required. And
Mhm.
any consideration when it comes to affordable housing for seniors? Is that a senior-only complex, or is it a portion of the affordable housing going to be seniors? I'm thinking of within a half mile of a transit stop. Within this area, that's not going to be an issue, but it seems like a quarter mile would be better for seniors if it's mainly 50% plus ratio. That's a long way to walk for I'm thinking of my dad.
Yeah, right.
That's half a mile to catch the
Right.
bus, yeah.
Right. Through the chair, Chairperson Nowakowski, again, this, I think I will defer this to Ms. Tabitha Perry. She can explain this a little bit more in depth, because she is technically the applicant.
Thank you. Chairperson Crow and Commissioners, ballot question. The notion is to provide a reduction option for the senior housing. It does not necessarily mean that an applicant would apply for it, but in doing an evaluation for senior housing, a lot of times the management company provides some level of transit opportunities. So in that evaluation with that justification study, we would be asking the applicant those types of questions. And if we deem that it may be appropriate to reduce the parking, that we would evaluate if they have those type of programs. The notion of how close the different necessity uses are surrounding them. It's just a variety of things that we take in consideration.
Thank you. You cleared my conscience a little bit. Thank you.
Commissioner Cole?
Ms. Perry, I should know this. Is the UDC still draft?
Chairperson Crow and Commissioners, it is still in draft form as of right now. Tentatively, it's scheduled to come before a planning commission in November, the first meeting in November, because the latter meeting in November will be vacated due to Thanksgiving.
So this text will refer to a draft document at this juncture.
Chairperson Crow and Commissioner, the intent is, because we have an affordable housing project in queue, we evaluated several different approaches and how they could potentially get a reduce in the parking. Based on the current tools that we have, they would have to do an entitlements for a PAD. So in this evaluation, if we strategically do this correctly, Planning Commission will provide the recommendation on the text amendment that is before you. But ultimately, if the UDC is presented before City Council prior to this proposed text amendment going before City Council, then the text amendment will become null and void.
Thank you for the clarification.
Commissioners, anything else? Okay, once again, because the applicant and owner is the city, there will be no applicant's representative coming forward. So if you folks have nothing else for Ms. Lavelle, thank you. Okay, I do not have any speaker cards. Are there any members in the audience that would like to speak? Okay, hearing none, the public hearing for case number ZTA 23-01 is now closed. Do I hear a motion for case number ZTA 23-01?
Chair,
Commissioner Hooper.
I would recommend that the Planning Commission request approval for ZTA 2301 as presented.
Second.
Okay. The case ZTA 23-01 has been recommended for approval as written. I will now call a roll call vote. Commissioner Hooper.
Aye.
Commissioner Gears.
Aye.
Commissioner Nowakowski.
Aye.
Vice Chair Nyberg.
Aye.
Commissioner Cole.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Case number ZTA 23-01 has been recommended for approval as written. Mr. Gruber, what are the next steps in the process?
Chair and members of the commission, your action with respect to case number ZTA 23-01 is not final. Your recommendation will be forwarded to the City Council for further consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Gruber. Ms. Perry, that concludes our cases. Is there any other business this evening?
Chairperson Crowe, Commissioners, just as a planning staff report, at the next scheduled meeting, we will be asking the Planning Commission for consideration for a chair and a vice chair, as well as proceeding forward with a schedule for the 2024 calendar year.
Thank you. Any further comments from the commission? Okay, the next regular meeting of the Planning Commission will be held October 26, 2023 at 6 p.m. here at the Glendale Civic Center. If there's no further business, I will now entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
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 We stand adjourned.